In the last two episodes, we talked about shifting from tasks to outcomes and using reflection to learn faster instead of working harder. There's one final move that completes the employee side picture, and it's the one most people never consciously practice. It's not how you start work, and it's not how you finish it. It's what happens to the people around you because of how you work. The people who become impossible to replace don't just complete their part. They become the person others trust, rely on, and ultimately need on the team. And that reputation becomes leverage long before anyone talks about titles, pay, or opportunity.
I used to think my responsibility ended when my part was done. If I finished what I was assigned, I moved on. But once I started paying attention, I noticed how often problems showed up downstream because of small things I could have handled earlier. Missing context, assumptions I thought were obvious, loose handoffs that made someone else's job harder. When I shifted my focus to how my work landed for the next person, everything changed. I started asking whether the next step would be easier or harder because of me. Over time, people stopped double-checking my work. They started trusting it, and that trust didn't stay quiet.
This is where outcome-oriented thinking turns into reputation. Teams don't talk about effort, they talk about reliability. They remember who makes things smoother and who creates cleanup. When someone consistently reduces friction, that person becomes a reference point. Others start saying their name in meetings they're not even in.
From a manager's perspective, this is when someone moves into a different category. I hear about them without asking. Other team members reference them. They say things like, "Loop Miles in," or "Miles will think this through," or "He'll make sure this gets done." That's not flattery. That's operational trust. When a team starts depending on someone that way, I know exactly where they stand. I don't need more proof. The signal is loud and clear.
This is how leverage actually forms at work. Not through visibility, not through self-promotion, but through being the person the system leans on. When the team needs you, leadership knows it. And once that dependency exists, replacement becomes expensive, risky, and unlikely.
What surprised me was how much less I had to explain myself. I wasn't chasing recognition or trying to be noticed. People just came to me earlier. Decisions included me by default. When reviews came around, nothing felt tense. We weren't debating effort. We were talking about impact, patterns, and where to keep raising the bar. The trust was already there because it wasn't just my manager's opinion, it was the team's experience.
That's the difference between being useful and being essential. Useful people help when asked. Essential people are woven into how work actually gets done. And once you reach that point, you don't have to prove your value. It's already visible in how others operate around you.
As a manager, this is the point where decisions get easy. When someone has that level of trust from the team, they get more room, more autonomy, and more opportunity. Not as a reward, but as a necessity. Because losing them would create real disruption. That's what being impossible to replace actually means.
This is the final piece on the employee side. Becoming impossible to replace isn't about standing out. It's about becoming the person the team trusts and needs to function well. You orient around outcomes. You reflect honestly. You make small improvements that compound. And you pass work forward in a way that reduces friction for everyone else. When the team depends on you, leadership knows it. That trust becomes leverage. In the next section, we'll flip the lens and look at this same system from the manager's perspective. It's important to hear both sides. Employees understand what managers are really trying to solve, and managers see what their teams actually need in order to operate this way. That's where alignment locks in. See you in Section 3.